And welcome back to Music Free Static. I hope you're having a fabulous day. And today, I wanted to talk a little bit about a weird change that's been going on in my life. I've been empty nesting, which is weird. And for those of you who've never heard the term, uh, I'm a parent whose kids have left the house. Not just like for the afternoon. They've kind of, well, I'm not going to say they've moved out because the younger three are all in college. And so they're coming back home. In fact, this week. But it's weird. So the last few months, it's just been my wife and I in the house, which has been a little weird and kind of fun. And it's sort of the next stage in life as a parent, right? This is one of those parental life stages that tends not to get talked about a whole lot. Right, you talk about, oh, you have kids and all the fun with, okay, you've got diapers and you've got, little babies to take care of and feeding them. And, they're basically just little tiny, cute and adorable, but little screaming blobs. They don't do much, right? And of course, as they get older, they talk about, oh yeah, the terrible twos and the first days in school and right, all of these different life events. But you don't talk so much about the kids leaving. And that's been sort of an interesting experience. Now, I love my kids. My kids are great. All of them. I had five of them. The oldest two have been out of the house for a while. The younger ones, my son he was gone on a mission for a couple of years and he was home for almost a year before he went to college. And now it's looking like he may not be coming home because with distance and all of that stuff. It's like, yeah, it's just going to be easier if he stays up in school. So, or up in Seattle, So, okay, that's cool. But my daughters one is close and the other one is a little further, but it's a little more convenient to go get her. But it's been weird. We've been sort of by ourselves, my wife and I. We haven't been, it's been many years since it's just been the two of us. And, it's strange, man. It is a significant change, and it's just weird, man. I said, I miss my kids and I want them to grow and excel, but they were also really funny. And so I kind of miss not having that around. On the other hand, sometimes they were loud, sometimes you have more people in the house and that leads to more distractions and just more having to work around what other people are doing. I don't live in a gigantic house, so it's not like, heck, my little a studio office area is in the living room. I mean, it's not, these are, so it's kind of nice not to have as much noise and distraction and, I'm worrying about disturbing somebody else, But there's one of the things that really was weird was food. I know, it's like, so here's, like I said, we've had 5 kids. Feeding 7 people is a task, okay? That's a lot of food. And, we had adaptations we had to do for getting from most recipes serve 4, or hey, we can double it and serve 8. Well, that's easy, right? Buying twice as much of a thing is not that much harder. Going the other way is surprisingly difficult. Right? Because a lot of recipes use a can of something. Maybe it's a can of soup. Maybe it's a can of beans or whatever. And then, wait, now having this recipe means half a can? And what do we do with the other half? Because, these types of things are annoying. But it's a real issue, right? How do we deal with this? So that's been fun as we've been going through our recipes. It's like, okay, what can we easily have to just be us. Okay, right? That's one of those things. What can we are, and we've got a few things that's fairly easy to do, but some things are just all right. This doesn't have easily. So what do we do? So well, some things like we do lasagna once in a while, every 6 months or 3 months, something like that. It's like, well, what if we just make the lasagna and we'll put it in 2 pans? We'll freeze one, bake the other one, and then at least every other time we do lasagna, we can just pull it out of the freezer and go, right? Stuff like that is fun and easy. I mean, not lasagna is not easy. It takes a little time, but at least that's it was fairly easy for us to adapt, right? Then there are some things that are surprisingly difficult and easy at the same time, right? So we've been used to when we go shopping for ground beef, we'd go for a long time. We went to the local meat market and would buy like 60 pounds of ground beef in 1 pound packages. Okay. And it was great when we had the whole family home because, hey, 1 pound goes into everything, right? You look at all your boxes you look at like Hamburger Helper, it's a pound. We made tacos. Yeah, a pound pretty well worked. As some of the kids got a little older, that worked less, but we had some other ways of adapting that. One of the things we used to do was we had some shelf-stable meat substitute. It was a survival type thing. We were trying it to see what it was like. Soy-based. Rehydrate this, and it's almost like ground beef, but it's soy and not beef. Well, it wasn't hard to take a 1/4 cup of that and mix it in with the pound of beef to extend the beef. Okay. So we were doing some things like that, and then later I started having beans instead of meat as I try to reduce my beef intake a little bit. Okay. I'm not vegetarian. I'm never going to be vegetarian, but I do need to cut back on the amount of meat I eat from time to time. All right, cool. Well, now it's just the two of us. Buying a 1 pound package of meat's a little bit harder to deal with. In a lot of ways, it's been easier for us to go buy a bigger package, like a 3 pound package, and then based off what we've got on the menu the next week or two, it's like, all right, we need a pound of beef for this, and we'll cut off with 1/4 pounds, little 1/4 pound things, because we're going to do burgers or we're going to do tacos or something like that. 1/2 pound because we're having this recipe, or halving this recipe, cutting it in half. There we go. Something like that, right? Start doing the math. It's like, all right, slice this up, throw them in baggies, throw it in the freezer, whatever. It's been weird. And there's some things like milk, right? Now, as my kids got older, some of them, like my younger daughters, pretty much just stopped eating cereal, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But my youngest still liked to drink milk with meals. Now, I cut back on dairy for health reasons, so I haven't been drinking milk for a while. And, I don't have cereal in the morning. I make a breakfast skillet about once a week or every couple of weeks and package that up and freeze it, sort of meal prep. So I just pull one out of the freezer every morning. So there are weeks we just don't buy milk, which for the most part is fine because we're not using it. Every once in a while, it's like, okay, we need milk for this recipe we've got coming up on the menu. And at which point, I still don't have, I'm not pulling out boxes of Honey Bunches of Oats or something. As delicious as that stuff is, or Cinnamon Toast Crunch. No, it's like, all right, I'll do oatmeal once in a while, which is also excellent for heart health, Cholesterol's an issue, y'all. But so I'll put some milk in my oatmeal and things like that. And but yeah, it's been a weird adaptation. And one of the things that was fun, so we used to ensure that we had enough food on the table for all of our kids, right? Whether they ate it was a different story, but it's like, okay, we are going to we have this menu that goes out about 6 weeks. It's like, all right, here's what we're doing for lunches, here's what we're doing for dinners. When the kids left, we stopped planning lunches because we basically had enough leftovers for my wife and I just to grab leftovers, or sometimes, she wanted a salad, and, we can just mix and match and do whatever. And that's been fabulous. With the kids coming home, that's going to change here just a little bit. It's like, and all right, now we have to go back to, all right, we have to plan out the foods. And yeah, lunches, we need to be sure we've got lunches planned because we're not going to have enough leftovers, and trying to figure out what to do every day is going to be weird. It's just one of those strange, of all of the things I expected to change in our lives, that was not the one I expected to have the most angst over. All right, maybe angst is the wrong word, but it's definitely caused the most adaptation that we've had to do. But it's been nice. My wife and I get to spend a little bit more time together, which is good. Um, no, that hesitancy wasn't a cry for help. No, it's because my wife and I are very similar in that we like to do very individual things, and we've known this since we were dating, right? I like to play video games or read. She likes to read and crochet and stuff like that. Our interests are very much solo type interests, which works great for both of us. But that also means that when we want to spend time together, we can. Now, it's not that we couldn't before, but the reality is, hey, having kids around sometimes cramps your style, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it's been weird. Instead, for the most part, it's been great. And if any of my kids hear this, no, I'm not glad you're gone. Right? I loved having you around. I don't love you any less because you're here or not. Okay. Because this is an important part in the life of a parent. Is you've reared your kids. You've hopefully taught them what they need to know. In general, you probably miss things. I know I totally have missed things, I'm sure, that are, it's like, oh, wait, this is important. How do I do this now? Right, that sort of thing. But they've grown, and now it's time for them to go and spread their wings and go out and excel and figure out a little bit more of who they are as adults. And that's awesome. And that's something that they really can best do someplace else, right? Even if they live next door, right? It's someplace else. It's their being their own people, separate from our household, our rules, our weirdness. And that's awesome for them. And I'm really excited. I'm thrilled that they're having this opportunity to go out and be adults. And it's weird for us as parents to be sort of not necessarily left behind, but to watch them go. Now, there were a bunch of things that we were sort of planning that we wanted to be able to do once the kids were out that we can't because our financial situation just went to heck in a handbasket. But, it's still, we're getting a little bit more, we're getting our chance to get back to knowing each other again. Because it's one of those things, a husband and wife by themselves get to know each other. And it's a different relationship when it's just the two of them than it is when it's the two of them plus the kids. Okay? You go from just being husband and wife to being mom and dad. Okay? And that there's nothing wrong with it. It's not a bad thing. It's just a change. And now that the kids are gone, we get to change again and not just be husband and wife and mom and dad, but just husband and wife and reconnect that way in a ways. And that's been interesting, and it's been fun, and it's been exciting. And so, yeah, I'm now in some ways this is empty nest test drive version because, as I said, my kids are coming home. So my fourth child is coming home. The school she goes to is on sort of a quarter system, and so she goes for like 2 quarters, as opposed to 2 semesters. But it's cool. But her big break between terms starts at the end of December. So my wife is actually going to pick her up from college this week. And so she's going to be home for 4 months. And my youngest, okay, she'll be home for a few weeks because it's Christmas break. But then she goes back to school. And about the time she would be coming back for summer break, then my other daughter goes back to school. So we're really only getting about 3 months or 4 months of empty nesting in a year. The rest of the time is, we've got 1 or more of the kids home. I said, it's great having them home. They're, I love my kids and they're fun. And, so yeah, it's weird. As I said, in a lot of ways, this is a trial run. But yeah, it's fun. It's an exciting time for us as a couple. It's an exciting time for our kids. It's an exciting time for us as parents too. So it was one of those things, once you do become a parent, you kind of have this tickling in the back of your mind that, yes, this is going to end. And sometimes it's a light at the end of the tunnel, and sometimes it's a bit of sadness because, hey, kids are awesome and you love them and you want to hang around, and it's like when your friends move away. It's the same type of thing. These just happen to be your kids. At least this is the way I feel about it. But it's actually been a really fun and exciting time, and it'll still be another couple of years before my kids are fully out of the house, but I'm looking forward to having them back, but I was a little worried about how I was going to handle empty nesting, and I'm not. I'm not anymore. It's been an interesting change. It's been a great change in a lot of ways. So, yeah, it's and I was a little bit worried about some of the, I've heard of parents dealing with depression because their kids are gone, or what do I do now? We haven't had that. At least I haven't had that. Now, I've been dealing with depression for other reasons, though I've worked through most of that. Same with my wife. We've had significant stress in our lives the last couple of years, and I've talked about that before on the podcast. But it hasn't come from the fact that our kids are getting older and moving on with their lives. And that's great. It's something that it's a new change in our lives that we actually get to embrace, and that's been awesome. So if you're in this boat, empty nesting, or coming up to it, let me know what your thoughts are. Drop a comment or something, or join the Discord and chat, because I always love hearing what you guys have to say, guys, gals, and everything in between. And until next time, be excellent to each other. And this is Music Free Static signing off.